Tonight, we analyze Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. A complete dominant victory by the Oklahoma City Thunder against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Plus, we wrap up our coverage of the Eastern Conference Finals and more. Our Nation Sports Show is next. Our Nation Sports Show. In Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals, the Indiana Pacers defeated the New York Knicks, led by star player Tyrese Halliburton, with an epic triple-double for the Agents, with 0 turnovers. Trailing 3-1, Game 5, back at Madison Square Garden, star player Jalen Brunson and a swarming Knicks defense threw a counterpunch of their own, blowing out Indiana, sending the series back to Indianapolis for a pivotal Game 6 on Saturday night. Back in Indy for Game 6, Halliburton and Pascal Siakam led the charge for Indiana with a perfect display of team basketball on offense and defense. After 6 grueling games, the Pacers defeated the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Indiana punched their ticket to their first appearance in the NBA Finals since 2000. They will face the top seed in the Western Conference, the youngest team in the NBA, the Oklahoma City Thunder, led by MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Tonight, we begin our coverage of the Finals.
Good up to the court, talking all that is sport, breaking down the latest news, scores, and more. Welcome to our Nation Sports Show.
There we go. Woo! We are here. We are live. What's going on, everybody? It is our Nation Sports Show, and I'm still on share screen, so give me 1 second. What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. I'm back in the host chair this week. I'm Ezra Vickery, of course. It's good to be back. Can't wait. We got a huge show for you guys tonight here on our Nation Sports Show, but of course, we're going to get into everything in the world of sports. The NBA playoffs are now down to just 2 teams, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. We got some NFL news, some NBA, NHL, everything in between. We're going to get into all that here in just a little bit. But first, the ways you can interact with us. Of course, all right, @ON_sports show on the good old X machine here. And then, of course, Facebook.com, Instagram.com, YouTube are all at our Nation Sports Show. Don't forget to follow The Nation's Corner at The Nation's Corner on Instagram and on the Facebook, and everywhere else is Nation's Corner. Follow them for all your pro wrestling needs. Of course, we're all pro wrestling fans as well, so don't forget to follow them there for that. And it's going to be a great show. I don't know if there is going to be a show this week because obviously Saturday's going to be a busy day. Of course, Worlds Collide, Money in the Bank, and also GCW will be hosting their. I believe it's going to be Cage of Survival or Tournament Survival. Forget which one. But one of those things GCW will also be hosting as well on Trailer TV. So busy day of wrestling. Just look at their social media for updates on if they're going to be doing a show this week or not. But the guys and gal will take care of you for all your pro wrestling needs. Also, don't forget to follow Too Sweet Cosplay at Too Sweet Cosplay across all socials. Right now, we're on a little bit of a break right now. We're getting things scheduled for the rest of the year. Possible Fan Expo appearance, we will let you know. Otherwise, if you see us at these cons like Fan Expo and all that, you see any of us rocking our Too Sweet Cosplay merch, drop by and say hello. say hello to us, and we'll probably do some sort of photo op, meet and greet, not meet and greet, but photo shoot type of meetup thing. We'll let you know. Just keep an eye on our socials at Too Sweet Cosplay. All right, enough of the spiel, enough of the stuff I don't get paid for in the slightest. Let's get going here, and Joey Thornton will be joining us in just a little bit. We may also have an appearance from KR Kevin Rory. We will see. But for now, with me is my heavy metal brother from North Kakalake, a man who's seen Metallica more times than Big Show has had face and heel turns. Ladies and gentlemen, Big Steven Wyand.
Well, I appreciate that. What is going on? Yes, I went to 3 Metallica shows in the month of May, just as many times as Big Show had face and heel turns. That is a great comparison. Great comparison. What is going on, everybody? We are here tonight talking about the world of sports, and yes, it is hard to believe that summertime is here, baby. Kids are getting out of school this week, and some got out last week, and you know the drill. If you get so excited for the summertime, and I know we all did, when we went to school, but we're excited for a different reason, because the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals begin finally this week, and we will be previewing that tonight, and we will also be finishing up our recaps of the conference finals in the NBA, as they all came to a close last week and throughout the weekend. And with that being said, and we also had some breaking news that dropped a couple of hours ago. We'll get to that and so much more. With that being said, let's do this.
Absolutely. We're gonna hold off on any sort of talk about the NBA finals, any previews and stuff until of course Joey Thornton gets here. But obviously, there has been some big news in the world of the NBA, and we'll get into that now. And of course, the big news is the breaking news that dropped about 3 or 4 hours ago, and that is that the Knicks have relieved Tom Thibodeau of his duties after 5 years with the team. Tom Thibodeau is a very prolific coach. Of course, coached my Chicago Bulls for a number of years. Was the coach of the #1 draft pick in 2008, Mr. Derrick Rose, and coached that famous Bulls team with the bench mob. Of course, he's had with the Knicks the past 5 years, every year was a 50-plus win season. He's had the best record. He's had the best record since the 90s. He's had their first finals, their first conference finals appearance, playoff appearance period in 25 years. And it's, he's had a great run with these guys, but the Knicks are looking for a quote unquote new voice to help lead this team to the next step. As we'll talk about later, how they got, unfortunately stomped out by the Pacers this past week. So, Steven, what are your thoughts on Tibbs' firing?
This was a complete surprise. I was listening to Cody Decker and Michelle Beadle's radio show on Mad Dog Sports Radio this afternoon, and I heard Michelle gasp over the air as one of the callers called into the show and was talking about the Knicks fan base and the Cowboys fan base. And then after the caller got through talking, she butts in and goes, "Are you serious? Is this legit?" And Cody, as you know, is a very animated guy, and he's very passionate, and he says what's on his mind. And he was surprised. And I was surprised. And I remember dropping that into our chat, and you were shocked. And I was too. I mean, just to think that Thibodeau took this team, who for years was a laughingstock in the world of sports, not just the NBA, but across the sports landscape of things. The Knicks, for years, were considered one of the worst ran organizations in the last 25 years, following their finals appearance in 99 against the Spurs, when they got defeated badly, openly beaten in 5 games. And looking at how this team has been ran, bunch of mediocre teams. And mediocrity, reign supreme in the Big Apple. And just how finally, New York had 2 back-to-back 50-win seasons led by Tibbs, and of course, their star player in Jalen Brunson. And their their before the season started last year with Cat going to New York and Bridges going to New York, and they were trying to, get ready to make a monster push, at a championship run. And the Knicks were right there, in the mix of things as one of the hottest teams in the NBA. And people in the Knicks fan base thought that Thibodeau was not fireable, because of what he accomplished, the last couple of years. I mean, when you take a team to back-to-back 50-plus win seasons and your first conference finals appearance in 25 years, that's a hell of a resume to have. And especially of a big city like New York City. And I don't get it. I get it and don't get it. I have mixed feelings. I get it from this point that Kevin has hit on, that we have hit on, that when you're playing 7 guys predominantly in the rotation and you're not changing things up, your guys are going to get gassed. And I believe certain players have gone on record in saying they didn't like how they were being played. And I mean, when you're playing, that many minutes a night and not, running a deep rotation of, 10, 11 guys, your star players are going to get gassed and, and they're going to be worn out. But then on the other hand, I think that where this move is wrong is what if the Knicks go after a coach that, yes, on paper, has a better resume, but doesn't have the resume of winning? Because let's play devil's advocate here. Let's say they go out and get a guy like Doc Rivers. If they did, yeah, Rivers has the one championship with the Celtics in 2008. But Doc has a hell of a lot of choking, accomplishments across his career, even with the Celtics in 2010 in the finals in Game 7, blowing a 13-point lead and all those Clipper teams with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. And then, going to Philadelphia and, trust the process. And what? Process of elimination? Choking big leads? Choking series leads? That's what Rivers was a part of. Then he goes to Milwaukee. And don't even get me started on that dumpster fire. I mean, even with the Greek Freak and Damian Lillard, they still couldn't get over the hump. And whoever they go after, they're going to have this magnitude, the pressure of playing in New York City, playing, in front of some of the most craziest, fanatical fans in the NBA and across sports. Because as you remember this a month ago, Knicks fans were dancing in the streets and creating, names at their players for street, names. And just going crazy. I mean, what do you think?
I think nothing. Oh, you're talking about the story. Okay, never mind. It's difficult to say. Look, I understand where they're coming from. I completely get it. They want to look for somebody that's gonna, and no slight to Tibbs. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of him. What he did for our Chicago Bulls will always be remembered, and what he did for that team and that culture at the time, I can't, thank him enough. I respect him big time. I understand where they're coming from. They're, getting blown out like they did by the Pacers. I get that. Struggling in this, I get it. And I get they don't want to make this mistake again if given the opportunity because of the team that they have. And they have a strong team. They have a lot of players who make big plays. Like you said, you mentioned Karl Anthony Towns. You mentioned Jalen Brunson. You mentioned Mikal Bridges. Mm-hmm. That whole team is a star. That is a star-studded team. They got all the tools to get it done. Excuse me. They do. It's a matter of what is missing. Maybe they feel that Tibbs was, in this case, not the right fit. Maybe they needed to change something and it wasn't specifically players, other personnel. Maybe they needed a different head coach with a different mindset that's going to help them maybe tighten up those screws, as Bully Ray would say. Tighten up the screws that would make that next step, getting to the NBA Finals, maybe even winning a championship possible. That's where I understand it. I don't understand is with all the records, all the things that Tibbs did, why you can't him on that. I'm sure they took that into consideration. I still scratch my head over it, but as I've learned with the recent releases of R-Truth and Carlito, and even Sarah Logan, Valhalla, this is a business. And you got to do what's best for business. And I know people hate hearing that. I hate hearing it too, but it's a straight up fact. So for me personally, I'm like you, I'm conflicted, but I'm looking at it for both sides. I get where the Knicks are coming from, but I also am wondering why you can a guy who's done all these incredible things and got you as close to the NBA Finals as you possibly can. But there's time for change, and apparently Tibbs is going to be, unfortunately, a casualty in that change.
It's crazy because there was a name that was thrown out there, and Dan Hurley, and I'm sorry, Dan is not the guy. Like,
what about Michael Malone?
Michael Malone is the one guy that jumps off the grid that I would go after.
Because that's been the name I've seen thrown around the most is Michael Malone. And you know what? I wouldn't mind that because this is a guy who's got a pedigree. This is a guy who's got success behind his name. And, this is we're not dealing with scrubs at the bottom here. We're talking about a head coach who's got success behind him and really is a guy who could possibly change the culture. We don't know that, obviously, because we haven't seen him coach in a little bit. Obviously, he's been doing play-by-play analysis on ESPN and TNT, wherever he fits in. So, with that being said, it comes down to what is the best fit for New York? What is going to be the coaching style that fits them the most? Obviously, they tried to compete with Indiana, and we'll analyze these games and all that too in a little bit. But the one thing that I think killed New York in this game, and that's the thing I think Tibbs tried to go for in some respects, was playing fast. Indiana knows how to play fast. They know how to get in there and get the shots they need, or even get in there and get passes to the guys who are in the paint. I think that Tibbs tried to fight fire with fire, and it bit him in the backside. And maybe that's a little bit of something. Maybe they don't need that style of coach. Maybe they need somebody who's different, a different style, a different play call, something. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not in the room. I'm not part of the board of directors or anything over there. I'm not part of the decision making. So who knows? Anything is possible. And by the way,
and that's the thing that I don't understand is trying to, if you're trying to play to their speed, some of the players don't have the endurance, or the stamina to do that. And when you're running a limited rotation of guys against a team that's playing, 9 to 10, sometimes 11 players, because there was times Carlisle was really flexing his cards, on the table, and really just moving around his his pieces on the table, his chips on the table. And he was throwing in different guys in there and just giving the Knicks different looks. And a lot of the times, Carlisle was out coaching Tibbs in this series 90% of the time.
And by the way, big shout out to Rick Carlisle in that squad. Unbelievable. Culture on that team. I'm a Bulls fan, 100% through and through. But obviously, this is my home state team. I'm from Northern Indiana. I'm a Bulls fan, but Pacers would be number 2 on my list if I had a number 2 team, which I don't. But I was cheering these Pacers because I want Indiana to come home with a title. Rick Carlisle has done so much for that damn team with Tyrese Halliburton, with Pascal Siakam, with McConnell. I mean, go down the list. I mean, he's done so much for the team, and that's a coach that the Knicks need. Look, I love Tibbs to death. I will say this over and over again. One of my favorite coaches the Bulls ever had, outside of Phil Jackson, probably one of my favorite coaches. But to me, maybe there was something missing. We don't know. We don't know. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out soon enough here coming up once the coaching search officially begins.
I would be honestly surprised if Mike Malone's, door isn't knocked, if his phone isn't ringing off the hook saying, "Hey, Malone, hey, coach, we need you to come to the Big Apple because we believe that you are the missing piece." Because as we all know, Michael Malone does not give a damn if you're Nikola Jokic, if you're Jamal Murray, if you're the third best player, if you're the 10th best player on the team. That's why myself and Kevin especially and Joey have made the comparisons of Michael Malone of the great Greg Popovich, because Greg held every player from Duncan to Tony Parker to Manu Ginobili to Bruce Bowen, David Robinson, and you name it. He held every player in the same caliber, from the first guy to the guy at the end of the bench. He treated every one of his players the same way, treated them equally. Michael Malone treated his entire Nuggets players equally.
But Steven, he also held them to the same standard that he would hold. It doesn't matter if you're a third string,
right,
or if you're Tony Parker. He held everybody to the same standard. And that's the same thing Michael Malone does. He holds everybody to the same standard of, this is what I expect from you. I expect this performance. I expect these plays to be made. I expect you to come out there to pick a roll. I expect you to come out there in the paint and throw it out to the guy on the 3-point line. I expect this play to be ran. And you know what? They did it. And that's the same thing with Malone. But the question I have for you, Steven, if Michael Malone, let's say, doesn't want the position, let's just say he's happy doing what he's doing now, which obviously I don't think he is. I think he wants to be back out there on the court with a great young team out there ready to dominate. But if Michael Malone, let's say, wasn't available, let's say he gets hired by somebody else, who would you feel would be the next one in line to take that spot?
Oh, it is so tough.
Tough call, because obviously we've had a lot of coaching changes throughout the season. Of course, the Nuggets situation, Sacramento.
Budenholzer being fired from Phoenix. I mean,
yeah,
he's a decent coach too, but I don't think he has that mentality that Malone has, because Malone is a very animated guy. I mean, the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. Unlike LeBron, he shows up on time and stays on time. JT, Joey Thornton, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Hate that I had to come on a little bit late tonight, and I got to leave just a little bit before 8, but I figured I could come on here for about 45 minutes to an hour and talk some sports.
Well, perfect timing, Joey, because we're just talking about the shocking firing of one Tom Thibodeau from the New York Knicks as their head coach.
This is another one of those questionable NBA head coach firings that I'm just like, I don't know if there's something there that nobody is seeing, or if they're just really wanting to move into another creative direction. Because, I mean, how many questionable NBA head coach firings have we seen? I mean, or recently at least. Let's see, there's Mike Budenholzer from the Bucks. There's, of course, now Tom Thibodeau from the New York Knicks. There's
Denver.
Yes, excuse me. Michael Malone from the Denver Nuggets. And I'm like, I mean, those are just 3 examples for what we've seen as far as questionable NBA head coach firings. So it honestly makes me wonder if something is actually there that we're just not seeing, or they're not reporting, or they just want to move into a whole nother creative direction. It's interesting.
It is interesting because, like me and Ez have talked about, we're thinking that Michael Malone is the next guy to be the next possible leading candidate of the Knicks because I said that Dan Hurley is not the guy because
Oh no.
Hurley, he has an attitude about him. He throws a lot of tantrums on the sidelines and he just complains and complains and complains too much. And nobody wants a head coach on their team that's going to bitch and complain 24/7, just like Mike D'Antoni did.
Oh,
Mike
absolutely
D'Antoni
not.
was a complete crybaby.
Oh yeah, he was.
And Dan Hurley's the
And
same
quite
guy.
on and quite Yeah, and quite honestly, Frank Vogel, when he was head coach of the Lakers, wasn't that far behind them.
No, he was not. And that's the thing that's, interesting when you think about, this offseason is there are quite a bit of coaching vacancies that could be, fulfilled with this Knicks team, just off one team. But the question is, where's Dolan going to go? Because I know we talk about the Cowboys being a clueless, organization, which they are. They still are. But the New York Knicks are just as clueless. I'm sorry. Like,
Oh
only the New
yeah.
York Knicks can fire their head coach who took a back-to-back 50-plus winning team, seasons to their
Past
first conference finals appearance this year in
past five
25
seasons
years.
were 50
And
plus
see
wins.
Yep.
and quite honestly, um whenever Ezra, or actually no, it was you, Stephen, first mentioned it in the chat, whenever Kevin was given his so-called 2 cents, it actually makes a whole lot of sense when you
It
look at it from
does.
his perspective.
It really does because,
Because
like I
think,
said, with the overplaying the guys and just playing seven guys, like it's not
yeah,
good.
yeah, he was literally playing the same guys over and over and over again, and that's why he was being out coached by Rick Carlisle with the Indiana Pacers. I mean, Rick Carlisle knows how to be a great head coach. He
Absolutely,
knows.
absolutely, and that's the one thing about it is I think that adding Rick Carlisle to this organization really helped change the culture of the team. I mean, it does help to have Pascal Siakam, Tyrese Halliburton, McConnell. Where else do I begin? Naismith. I mean, you have so
Miles
many
Turner.
Miles
Miles Turner,
Turner, Andrew
Miles Turner,
Nimhard.
Andrew Nembhard. You got so many great players on that team to begin with. But when you add a coach like Rick Carlisle who knows how to win, I mean, come on, he won a championship for the Dallas Mavericks.
Right?
He's a guy who knows how to make it to the finals and win. So this is a guy who's got the experience, and he's able, and you could tell this team is a very coachable team. They rally around that guy. Rick Carlisle is a guy who that team absolutely adores, and they're willing to do anything for him. And so me as an Indiana state, me being from the state of Indiana, I'm excited for this upcoming series, which we will preview in just a few minutes. But there is some other news once we get into this a little more. We do have some news concerning actually the upcoming matchup. Let's see. The Pacers had a little bit of a rough time today because their plane got delayed. To OKC.
Oh yeah, because of a tornado warning.
Yeah, because of a tornado warning.
Oh, wow.
In the Oklahoma City area this afternoon. So that was a big deal. Their plane got held up. As we know, the first game will be Thursday, so that's going to be great. There's just it's been a crazy week. Obviously, let's get into how this series wrapped up with the Pacers. Let's talk about that, and that is of course game 6 back home. And let me tell you, that first half, it was a tale of two different halves, because you had this freaking team, this New York Knicks team that would just not go away. Whether it was Karl Anthony, whether it was KT in the paint, whether it was Jalen Brunson with jump shots or even a couple big 3-pointers, they kept close to Indiana. But then after that second half ended, that spark lit under Indiana, and that was it. And that ended that game right there. And that last 3-pointer from Tyrese,
My God, what a
that was
shot!
that was
Oh gosh. That was almost Steph Curry range. He dropped that shot like it was nothing.
that was the ultimate dagger of
God.
daggers. Just an incredible moment. And just absolutely, what a way to cap off what was a very, even though it was 4 games to 2, a very hard competitive series. I mean, that final game was, like I said, those Knicks would not go away in that first half. And they kept up. They tried to keep up, but once Indiana started to get their rhythm, and Halliburton finally, after his, abysmal performance in game 5, he really got going. Once he started getting hot, there was no stopping him.
That Halliburton performance in that fourth quarter looked like the Halliburton from Game 4 with that triple-double for the ages with 0 turnovers, over 30 points, 13 plus assists, 10 plus rebounds. I mean, just an incredible stat in Game 4. And then in Game 6, he saved his best highlight reels for last. I mean, hitting 5 field goals, including the dagger 3. And every time the Knicks had a spark, either Halliburton assisted or made field goals. And
Yep.
it was an incredible night because, like you said, as during that first half, it was back and forth. Like the Knicks would not go away. And even when Indiana built the lead up to 11, the Knicks still came firing back and, fighting back in the game. And then Indiana went on that magical run in the fourth quarter. I mean, and not only was it a magical night for the Indiana Pacers, but it was also a curtain call for the NBA's coverage on TNT.
Yep. We had our final NBA game as well as the final inside the NBA. And what a moment it was. And great send off for all of those people who were involved over the years, whether it be, Marv Albert, the late great Craig Sager, Kenny Harlan, of course, Reggie Miller, and
Daryl Miller, Reggie's sister, who was a sideline reporter, and
we could keep going on and on and on, but man, just what a send off. And for Ernie and Shaq and Kenny and Charles, it sucks this ends, but luckily they're going to be able to do it again.
because Kevin Harlan's going to CBS and Prime.
Reggie Miller is going to NBC.
And I believe that Shaq, Chuck, and them are going to ESPN.
Yep.
Yeah, the show's going to ESPN and ABC starting next season.
There is one thing that I demand: do not touch this show. Because Charles Barkley, Kenny the Jet Smith, Shaquille O'Neal, and Ernie Johnson have forged one of the greatest shows during sports. It's not the same rinky dink, a minute and a half, talking, typical bullshit, questions and all this.
Yeah, it's not your prototypical like Sports Center or
There's a vibe. There's a legit vibe with these guys. I mean,
yeah,
they say what they want to say, and knowing Chuck and them, if they get thrown that, hey, you got to promote this, you got to promote that, they're going to say, bump that. We're going to do whatever we want to do, and that's being authentic and being yourself, as the late great Chris Cornell would say. Be yourself. That's all that you can do, and just you have to be your authentic selves. And TNT did not mess with the inside the NBA crew, no matter if even Kevin McHale was there for years, and Magic Johnson was there, at one point. I mean, they have had a consistent, show on the air, and I hope that ESPN and ABC does not touch this, because if they decide to screw with it and mess with it, you are messing with greatness. And TNT for years besides the NBA on NBC, in my opinion, has been one of the greatest coverages of sports. I mean, Marv Albert, the voice of the NBA, Kevin Harlan, in my opinion, the greatest play-by-play announcer across any sports because the man can call a football game, he can call a basketball game, so on and so forth. And hell, he could even call a kitty cat going into the end zone. So he can call a streaker running down the field and getting tackled. And just he can call something completely on the fly and do a great job at it. And
Exactly. And saying quite honestly, if he can call anything involving a kitty cat, maybe Randy Gyron should put his cat Sprocket in there. But honestly, I mean, I couldn't agree with that statement even more. Inside the NBA has been one of the most amazing shows that a production crew can put together. And quite honestly, them taking anybody out, and I mean anybody out of that amazing crew, it's almost like taking Pat McAfee out of the Pat McAfee show.
Exactly, and that's another thing too. If Pat McAfee can get away with doing the things that he's doing on ESPN, well then let the inside the NBA guys do their thing. Because I'm promising you, you touch that, people are going to be pissed off and they're going to rebel against what they're trying to do.
And here's another prime example. Them messing with that inside the NBA crew, it was like taking Stephen A. and Skip Bayless out of ESPN First Take.
Well, Skip Bayless, we can understand why, because Skip Bayless is
at least Stephen A.
Well, Skip Bayless on record, I don't care. He's a piece of shit.
Okay, let's just stop this now. Both are complete asshats. Okay, moving on. Look, Stephen A. is the biggest overreactive son of a bitch I've ever met in my life. He plays it. He's playing this character. He's playing a character more over the top than fucking Moxley with the Death Riders story.
Oh no, that's saying something.
That's definitely saying something.
Skip Bayless. You got Skip Bayless, who's up Jerry Jones's ass so far he can see the dental. He can see the dental gel in his teeth. Good fucking lord, man.
And while we're on top of it, when it comes to being characters,
well, is that also like your girl too, Steven? We're always on top of it.
Yeah.
The thing that really bothers me with fans is how they're overreacting to Tyrese Halliburton. No, he's being disrespectful to the Knicks fans. You idiot! He's playing into being the supervillain, and if people pay attention, he's a wrestling fan.
Oh, and by the way, on top of it, John Cougar, go fuck yourself.
Dude, I popped when McAfee told him to shut the fuck up.
No, this is okay. So for whatever reason, and I'm not going to listen, for some reason, I don't know why I have it, but certain people, even if you pay the highest tier, have commercials on Netflix during Raw. Some people get a special 2.5 minute live thing in between where it's actually live. So you get segments, you get parts of the match, like almost like a picture-to-picture deal thing, but no commercials. So during I forget what match it was. I think it was El Grande Americano. It was the three-way match for the Money in the Bank. It was Money in the Bank qualifier, and they were talking about El Grande Americano. Mm-hmm. And they were arguing about how El Grande Americano is not Chad Gable, says Pat, blah, blah, blah. And he said there's a same thing. It says they're not the same person. And Cole goes, well, John Cougar and John Mellencamp are the same person. It's John Cougar and John Mellencamp, they're the same thing. Pat goes, well, I hate both of them anyway.
Oh, God.
Yeah, life goes on.
Yeah. Let me tell you that burn hurts so good.
Yeah.
But Steven, go ahead and continue. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. When you really, look at this and how the fans overreact to Tyrese's antics and all this different stuff. I mean, we need people like Halliburton who is animated and who's a character and who plays in, and brings that wrestling kind of theatrics, to sports. Because if you're just plain old vanilla, oh, I'm a great scorer. Yay, I'm a great defender. Yay. I can pass the ball. Yay. Oh, you can pass the ball. Oh, good for you. You can shoot the ball great. Oh, good for you. You could be a lockdown defender and all that good stuff. I mean, you can be a great athlete, but you have to have personality. And that is where Tyrese gets it. Because being a massive wrestling fan that he is, I mean, him and Jalen Brunson are both wrestling fans, and they played into it. And it was great. And having a guy like Tyrese in the NBA Finals, it really adds to the finals because there are people talking about, oh, what about the ratings? What about the ratings? The hell with the ratings. You got two great basketball teams. Hell, first of all, you got fresh meat on the bone because you have fresh blood in the NBA Finals. The Thunder haven't been there since 2012. Indiana hasn't been there since 2000. You have two fan bases who are going to win their first championship in the NBA. How more cool is that? Like, parity in sports is what's best for business.
Yeah, that is very true. I can understand that.
Although it sucked that the coverage of the TNT, ended on Saturday, and I kind of wanted chaos to reign supreme, and Game 7 could have been last night. But at the same time, Indiana, the right team, won. Because I think the Thunder would have made they would have taken this Knicks team out like old Yeller was. Take them out back and get rid of them. And the Knicks, I mean, although they were a solid team, when you look at it from a bench standpoint, a starting rotation, the Thunder and the Pacers alone have way better starting lineup and better bench players.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, the Minnesota Timberwolves, you talk about a team who didn't even bother to show up.
They had no answer for the Thunder.
No
No
answer.
No.
I mean,
When you're
all
scoring
all
9
three
points,
times they played in OKC, Minnesota lost by double digits. So no.
including 26-9 at the end of the first quarter in Game 5, like that game was over. It was over.
Game over.
And I'm sorry, and this is where, Ed, you are spot on with this. Stephen A. Smith crowned Anthony Edwards as Jordan-esque. Shut the hell up. Anthony Edwards couldn't even lace Jordan sneakers.
Nope.
Anthony Edwards, several times in this series, quit on Minnesota. At times, not even taking shots. You're the star player of this organization. And you're barely putting up any effort, any numbers. Like, come on, man.
For real. It's absolutely crazy. Oh, Minnesota just had no answer for the hot hand of OKC.
Not even close.
Or specifically SGA.
Yeah, there you go. Specifically SGA.
Yeah, SGA had another great game. And people talk about how he's boring. I mean, come on, man. Like, he's a hell of an athlete. He knows how to play his position. He gets to the line. And he knows how to play his role very well. And he can have 33 points, and it can be a very quiet 33. He can have 40 points, and it can be a very quiet 40 points. It's because he doesn't have personality. I think that's what, I'm not knocking him. It's because he doesn't have really a character. He's just a fundamentally sound player. He is basically a modern Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
That's what made Tim Duncan so fundamentally sounding great. Is that, yeah, he didn't have character, but he was a sure hell of a player.
And saying, quite honestly, that's what separates SGA from these players who cause drama in the off season. Morant.
For real.
Yeah. And of course, whenever he is completely focused on the court on both ends of the ball, especially on defense where he has Alex Caruso helping him out, I mean, you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at a duo as far as defense, straight up defense. So maybe Luka Doncic needs to take notes or not.
And Minnesota has good players on their team, but following two back-to-back years where they get beat in 5 games, there's probably going to be a completely different team for Minnesota next year. Mike Conley might be gone. Nas Reed probably wants, money, more money. Rudy Gobert, is he going to stay? And Walker, he's probably not going to be able to stay. I mean, there is, and DiVincenzo, he's a good 3-point shooter. And
Well,
and they, go ahead.
Stephen, if that is the case, if all those players do wind up leaving Minnesota to go elsewhere next season, you think they possibly could enter themselves in the Giannis sweepstakes?
That's an excellent question. And that's going to be a topic for discussion in the offseason is where does Giannis go?
I mean, who knows? I mean, there could be a whole bunch of teams entering themselves in the Giannis sweepstakes because everybody could use a player like Giannis. Everybody.
Absolutely.
And who knows? He may wind up going back to Milwaukee. You never know.
In this day and age, nobody knows. But
Yes,
congratulations.
absolutely.
Congratulations to the Thunder for clinching the Western Conference Finals. And also congratulations to the Indiana Pacers for clinching the Eastern Conference Finals in a very entertaining Eastern Conference Finals.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
will say, as long as Giannis doesn't broadcast a 1 hour special saying where he's going to go next season, that'll be fine by me. Just like LaFlop or excuse me, LaChoke. Dang it! I mean LeBron.
I agree. What a joke.
LeBron, the choke, don't give a fuck. It all means the same thing. But we are now gonna preview the NBA Finals. But Joey, I believe you said you have a creative decision that you want to make on this little segment we're gonna be doing.
I do. I've been thinking about this, and I'm just like, you know what? It would really be creative if we do something a little bit differently when it comes to these NBA finals, because this is obviously going to be a very great matchup in my book, and I'm sure it's going to be a great matchup in you guys' books as well as Kevin's and Hijackers and Randy's, and who knows who else is going to get their input.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would be interesting if we do a little more than a versus format, but take each starting position on the court itself and break it down to see who's better at point guard, who's better at shooting guard, yada yada yada, all the way down to center.
Oh, interesting.
And I've already separated everything between the Thunder and the Pacers as far as who has played in all or most of the playoff games this season. And I've gotten all their stats pulled up here, so let's
Okay.
dive right in. Starting with point guard. And of course, for the Thunder, you have Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Um, and that's technically their only point guard on the roster, but we can go ahead and just include players like Alex Caruso, Luganese Dort, and Aaron Wiggins in that. And then for the Pacers, let's see. And then for the Pacers, we of course had Tyrese Halliburton, we had TJ McConnell, Andrew Nemhard, and let's see, Ben Shepherd, who really hasn't done a whole lot in these playoffs, but he can still be a factor nonetheless. I mean, he's played in 14 playoff games. So this is obviously, in my opinion, going to be the toughest matchup to determine because you got both teams' star players in the point guard position. So, let's go Ezra first. Who do you think is better at the point guard position?
Oof. This is very tough. I mean, you got a guy like SGA who is an absolute beast at just shooting the ball in general. The guy can get a shot off virtually anywhere, and he's so good at what he does as a pure shooter. Tyrese, he's a great shooter, but what makes him elite is his ability to get into the paint and his ability to really get inside the free throw line and open up space for players, for some of his big guys. So like his guys like a Pascal Siakam or a Naismith down there to help facilitate the ball. And he's able to get it in there. He opens up that space, get that ball out to that person, and then easy layup or dunk. Oh, man, it's tough. As much as
It is very tough. I mean, it's a very intriguing matchup because, like I said, both teams' number one players both play point guard. So
as
this is
far
definitely the toughest matchup to determine, the toughest position battle.
I think I'm going to go with Tyrese. As much as, yes, SGA is the reigning MVP, as much as he is a monster shooter, Tyrese Halliburton, to me, when he is on and he is able to do the things that he's best known for, which is, of course, shooting, but also, like I said, facilitating, getting his players involved. That's what he's able to do. And that was one of the keys to their victory to put the games up 3-2. That was one of the keys that Tyrese did that helped them out, is that dribbling the ball, getting into that area. And not only that, when that pocket collapses, that opens up the space for, like I said, a Naismith, a Pascal Siakam to come in there and slam it home. I think Tyrese is more of a complete point guard than SGA is, but I give SGA all the credit in the world.
All right, Steven.
Well, I agree with your points, as I'm going to go with SGA only because he is a more complete player, not just because of what Tyrese also can do on the offensive side, but what Alexander can do is lock you down. He is a fundamentally sound defensive player. He kind of reminds me, now I'm not calling him Jordan-esque, but he reminds me of the way Michael would play and the way Kobe would play. Because Kobe was also a fundamentally sound player, on both ends of the floor. He was obviously more known for being a very high octane offensive basketball player. But where Kobe flew under the radar was his defensive prowess. And that's what SGA has. Because SGA can take anybody's best player and make them look human. And this Thunder team is a very quick team. And that's what makes this series so interesting is we have no idea, who's going to win this, because any one of these two teams have a fighting chance of winning. So I'm going to go with SGA. Joey?
I'm going to go with SGA as well, mainly because of what I have seen out of SGA as far as this playoffs has been going. because I mean, like I said earlier, SGA is no doubt not just a two-way player, but a phenomenal two-way player because he can play offense and defense like the best of them. SGA, like you said, Steven, SGA can put up a quiet 40-point game and it be one of the best scoring performances we've seen. But what really separates SGA for me from Tyrese Halliburton is the fact that SGA also digs deep into his playmaking ability. Yes, I know Tyrese can do that too, but there's just something about the way SGA does it that just makes it stand out to me. I mean, the fact that he can play defense at such a superb level, and the fact that I mean, yes, Halliburton does have help on the defensive side of the ball as well, but it's just the way that SGA just flows down the court, the way that he flows whenever he's playing defense. I mean, that just to me makes SGA, in my opinion, the best point guard in this NBA Finals.
Agree.
So, Steven, real quick
All
before we move on,
right, so moving on to the shooting guards.
hold on one real quick.
Of course, I'm
Joey,
gonna.
Joey, hold on.
real quick, my man. Here's a little thing from the front from this thing called Front Office Sports. It says that you mentioned your concerns about inside the NBA, right, Steven?
Yes.
ESPN reportedly has no plans to change any part of inside the NBA, and TNT still has
Good.
full editorial control.
Good.
Good.
Post game show will also continue to run for an extended period, just like it did on TNT. Okay, Joey, go ahead and continue, my friend.
All right. So yeah, I mean, we pretty much talked about the shooting guards as well. So let's move on to the forwards. And I'm gonna include both small, just regular, and power forwards.
Okay.
So for the Thunder, we have Jalen Williams, we have Chet Holmgren, we have the other Jalen Williams, and that's pretty much it for them. And then for Indiana, let's see, we have, of course, Pascal Siakam, Aaron Neesmith, Obi Toppin. And yeah, those are pretty much the main forwards.
Right out the gate, I'm going to
So,
give it to
again,
Indiana.
yeah, I'm about to say, out of the gate, I got to go with Indiana
Dude,
with
Indiana.
this one.
I mean, that team alone was the those forwards alone were the difference in Indiana losing or winning that game. Especially Pascal Siakam. I mean, come on. That's why he was the Eastern Conference MVP.
Yeah, yeah, he was the Eastern Conference Finals MVP for a reason. And I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I knew Siakam had played really good when it came to the Eastern Conference Finals, but the way that they kept talking about Tyrese Halliburton doing this, Tyrese Halliburton doing that, I honestly thought they were going to give Halliburton the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. But when they announced it was Siakam, I was like, whoa, that's a. I mean, it wasn't really a surprise to me, but the fact, because in my honest opinion, since I was able to go back and look at some footage, Siakam definitely was the catalyst behind, or was definitely one of the main catalysts behind Indiana's surgence to where they are now, which of course is the NBA Finals. Siakam and Halliburton have a definite 1-2 punch, just like um the Thunder have SGA and Chet Holmgren as their 1-2 punch. And don't get me wrong, Chet Holmgren is a great player for Oklahoma City, but it just makes me wonder how he's going to go into the series knowing that he's more than likely going to be the player to get put on Siakam. and see how he defends against him, and see how he can up his defensive prowess to try to contain a guy like Siakam.
Yeah, because when you look at how
But yeah,
Indiana attacks, they go inside and out, not outside and in, because they are one of the
yeah,
most fundamentally sound basketball teams that attack the paint and then go outside when it's necessary. And the
right.
Thunder really haven't faced that all year long. Now I know they beat the Pacers 2-0 in the regular season, series, but that's the regular season. This is
Yeah, I'm
the
about to
chips are
say
on the table,
this. Yeah, I'm about to say that's the regular
and
season.
that was a
This is
different
the NBA
Pacers team,
Finals.
and that was also a different Pacers team.
Yeah, this is put up or shut up time.
Yep.
All right, Ezra,
Yes,
what's your
sir.
opinion?
What are we looking at again? I'm sorry, I had to
The
step.
the full,
The
full
Fords,
Yeah,
the Fords.
to me, Indiana is definitely the right pick. I mean, when you're doing this comparison, as far as the Thunder goes, yes, they do have a lot of good role players. These forwards come in here and they've been helping get these wins for the Thunder. But when you're looking at a fully complete group of forwards, Indiana has that in spades. You look at every single one of those names on that list, and you can imagine them scoring big time in each and every game they play in. Now, we're not expecting 30, 40 points in each one, but you're expecting them to bring big contributions to Indiana to help out, the Tyrese Halliburtons or whatever, so that way they don't have to put so much strain on themselves to, put in that big win. So, you look at those names like that, and especially guys who have really shown up in these past finals, like Nace, like you said, like Pascal Siakam, who's been probably one of the biggest difference maker in that entire team, in my opinion.
and Siakam was also the difference maker of that 2019 Toronto Raptors team that won the
Yes,
championship.
yes, he was.
Amen. Yes,
Yes,
he
he
was.
was. He, along with Kawhi Leonard.
Yes, sir. All right, Joey, next.
All right, so now we're gonna look at the centers, and yes, I know Holmgren is technically a power forward, but he also does playing time as a center, so I'm gonna put him in this as well.
Okay.
So for the Thunder, we have Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, and for the Pacers, we have Miles Turner, and quite honestly, I've seen Siakam play a little bit of center as well. I mean, not really a whole lot, but another guy, like another tall guy you can't really count out, who has actually stepped up his game quite a bit in these playoffs, is the guy that Indiana acquired from Miami via midseason trade, that being Thomas Bryant. So you can include him in the mix as well.
And then there's the other guy. Who's the other big guy? Toplin, right? Or top?
Yeah. You can include Obi Toppin in the mix too.
Yeah, because Toppin, he's another big guy that flies around the rim. So again, I mean, I know that the Thunder, with Holmgren and the other big man, they have two great big guys, but I think Indiana, again, I give them the slight edge on the big guys. Because Hartstein and Holmgren are good, but Indiana has 4 or 5 dudes that they can throw in there and shuffle the lineup a little bit.
Yep, I'm gonna have to go with Indy too.
Yep.
And like Steven said, to me, what makes that position great for Indiana is the fact there are players that are interchangeable. They could be forwards, they could be centers. It doesn't always have to be one big guy or two big guys out there playing that position 40-something minutes out of the game. If somebody gets tired or gets injured, you have somebody who can get in there and put that same role and put up those similar numbers. And I think Indiana has that. No disrespect to Holmgren, because Holmgren was a huge, and I mean literally a huge difference maker for the Thunder in these playoffs. Holmgren knows he could play center. He could get in the paint. He could dunk. He could get in there and get rebounds. But the guy is also a great shooter, too. We've seen him shoot from three. He's a very much got the tools to play both positions like he does. But to me, when you're talking about a team that has those interchangeable parts and has more than one or two that could, it makes a team like that more complete. And to me, I think Indiana is that when it comes to their centers.
Absolutely. And I would include coaches into this little battle as well, but we all know Rick Carlisle is definitely the better head coach, seeing as how Carlisle has the more experience, since this is his second NBA Finals, and this, of course, is Dagonault's first.
Yes.
So now it's time for the moment of truth. Thunder or Pacers? Who's taking home this NBA championship, and how many games do y'all think?
Steven?
Oh, God. It's so tough because, I mean,
See how I throw him under the bus first?
the thing about this series, it is so hard to call because, see, that's how good SGA is, because he can lock up any best player. These guys are very fast. I mean, the forwards, for OKC, the guards, they're quick. Their big guys are very versatile. But I would say man, I think this is going 7 games. And just because I think they had the MVP, I have the Thunder in 7. But with saying that, I would not be surprised if Indiana wins, for one simple reason. Indiana has been an underdog the entire season in these playoffs. They have been underdogs against the Cavs, against the Knicks, and they have beaten them both.
Yeah, that's the truth. And I'm going to go ahead and go next. I've been looking at stats, I've looked at history, and out of the last 10 NBA Finals matchups, the West has won 6 of them, with the East has won 4, obviously. But seeing as how these two teams are coming into the series so competitive, I mean, God, this is so hard to pick. But I am actually gonna pull a rabbit out of the hat here, and I'm gonna go Pacers in 7.
Wow.
I'm gonna go Pacers in 7 because Indiana, don't get me wrong, has had their struggles whenever it's well, or actually no, both teams have had their struggles on occasions. But when it comes to road play, Indiana has been one of the best road teams in this entire NBA playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say, since this is obviously a 7-game series, that means they're going to be playing in OKC at least 4 times. So if the series goes all the way to 7 games and 4 of those games are played at OKC, if Indiana can find a way to win at least 2 of those 4 games in OKC, then Indiana's taking the NBA Finals, hands down, in my opinion.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going.
Maybe one. Maybe one if they play their cards right, win all 3 games on their court.
Yeah, I'm going. It's a tough one, but I'm going Pacers in 7. They have to win at least 1 or 2 at home, or I mean 1 or 2 away. They have to do what they did in New York. If they don't, then I think Thunder will win it in 7 as well. But
yeah,
when it comes down to it, Indiana has to take at least 1 or 2 of those games to prevent the momentum shift, because that's the last thing you need is a momentum shift. You want to keep all the momentum, all the energy, that all that adrenaline on your side. You don't want anybody else taking it from you. And the best way to do it is by beating your opponent on their home court. This is going to be tough too because of how good SGA is, and how good Holmgren is, and all these guys. But I think we're going to get really heavy back and forth series. These games are not going to be blowouts; they're going to be super close. And I think,
I could definitely see the series going at least 6. But hopefully it'll go 7.
And to me, I think in that final game, it's going to come down to the one thing that made Indiana dangerous in that series against New York, and that's their ability to play fast. That's their ability to get that ball, get it down the court, get it in the lane, or have it swung out to the 3-point line. That's what I think was the key to them beating the Knicks. Was the Knicks could not keep up that pace. They couldn't keep up the speed and the adrenaline that Indiana put on them. And I think that could be a key that could help in their series against the Thunder coming up for the NBA Finals.
Absolutely. And even though I think OKC is the better 3-point shooting team, you can't always rely on that. I mean, you can't always rely on the 3-point shot. So that's where you need to have that fast-paced transition game, and that is where I think Indiana excels. Like you just said, Ezra, the way that the Pacers just fly down the court, putting balls in play, getting shots off, just using that transition game is what makes Indiana so superb. And if Oklahoma City wants to be competitive in this series, they're going to have to find a way to stop that transition game from Indiana. Otherwise, this may be a long series for them.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Well, all right, guys, that's going to do it for me tonight.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to do it for me. Again, I mean, I hate to get off early, but got some stuff to take care of. I had about 45 minutes to an hour of free time, so decided to hop on, but my time is up, gents.
All right, man.
Great job, man.
All right, guys. Yep. See y'all next week.
Yep.
Let's see here. And now that that's covered, I believe that's all we got. The world of the NBA right now. There wasn't any huge development since then. So why don't we, Steven, why don't we go ahead and get on some NFL news real quick?
Yep.
And there was a couple of news breaks that happened. Steelers tight end Donald Parham Jr. suffered a torn Achilles during today's OTAs and is likely done for this season. So already problems for Pittsburgh already. And Steelers are also renewing conversations with Dolphins tight end Jonnu Smith, who is seeking a new contract.
If they can acquire him, that'll be interesting because Steelers are already down to tight end.
Yep. Let's see here. Some sad news to report today that is that Jim Marshall, a celebrated member of the Vikings Purple People Eaters defensive line, who started 270 consecutive NFL games, died Tuesday after a long hospitalization. He was 87 years old.
Obviously, one of the greats. We send our condolences, our thoughts and our prayers to him and his family.
Absolutely. Jelani Tavai for the Patriots. He's their linebacker. He suffered a a calf injury during OTAs yesterday and is now expected to sideline him until training camp. Let's see here. Other news, real quick. CJ Stroud will not be throwing at OTAs due to just some shoulder soreness.
Quite a bit of injuries in the offseason in the OTAs.
Yeah, it's a little bit nuts going on right now. Also, too, Kyle Pitts of the Falcons right now hasn't been practicing due to a strained muscle in his foot. The Eagles have now agreed to trade Bryce Huff to the San Francisco 49ers for a 5th-round pick that could be a 4th-round pick in next year.
And that could be very beneficial for San Francisco.
Yep. He's a defensive end, so it works out in their favor.
Mm-hmm.
One of 2 retirements happened. This one right here, veteran cornerback Ronald Darby played 10 seasons and helped the Eagles win Super Bowl, informed in Houston, Texas that he is retiring from the NFL. And then, of course, the big one, which is crazy, Lions 4-time Pro Bowl center Frank Ragnow announced his retirement from the NFL.
At just the age of 29.
Unfortunately, dealing with some health issues and injuries that are not healing at the rate that he wanted to and that his doctors have wanted to. So he's decided to put the cleats up, pads up, and focus on being a family man. Unfortunate news for him, or unfortunate news for the Lions to lose him.
And now the Lions are going to have to probably start a rookie or get one of their backup guys, that is, been with them, and get them reps. And a brand new guy is going to be getting the snaps off for Detroit. And Detroit, has a lot of pressure on them, to repeat, their success the last couple of years. And the coaching that they have and players that they have, and on paper, it looks rock solid. But Detroit, obviously, with the news a couple weeks ago of Hutchinson coming back, being cleared, and man, they need him because their defense last year, during the second half of the year after that lopsided victory against the Cowboys, their defense took a massive hit week after week after week. So hopefully for Detroit and their fans, they experience a good karma this year because they are one of the more, I would say, beloved teams, in the NFL the last couple of years because of their story, what they've been through.
Yeah. Another one. Hold on one second. I'm actually trying to tune into NXT right now and see what's going on real quick. We'll also check in this news here. Okay, so right here. Here we go. Damn it, wrong step. Some other sad news, unfortunately, and that is John Brinkus, who is the creator and host of the show Sports Science on ESPN, passed away at the age of 54 due to let's just put it simply, he took his own life. He has long fought depression, and he unfortunately lost his battle with it.
What show was it again that he hosted?
Sports Science.
Oh,
where they would break down certain plays scientifically.
That was him?
Yep, that was him.
Wow.
Yep, he died almost 2 days ago. He was 54 years old. He had been battling depression for some time. So, so I don't want to make a long spiel about it because I want to get on to our stories as we're on limited time here. But talk to somebody. If you're feeling down, talk to somebody. You feel like doing something that will hurt others or hurt yourself, call the national hotline and get help. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes.
Also, too, want to congratulations, and this is we're not joking here. I'm not going to make no jokes because this is for. Congratulations are in order to Dak Prescott and his wife SJ, who welcomed a new member to the family. So, welcome to she delivered a brand new baby to the Prescott family. So congratulations.
Nice.
So congratulations to Dak and SJ on welcoming this new life. So that's awesome. I am really, really trying hard not to make the Cowboys joke. And I'm gonna stick to it. Vikings general manager Kwesi Adolfo Mensa signed a multi-year contract extension last night. So he's going to be sticking around for a while to help out the Cowboys. Let's see. What else? The Rams have signed Vikings offensive tackle David Queensberry to a one-year deal. Let's see. Falcons and restricted free agent center Ryan Nuzil have agreed on a 2-year, $9.5 million deal that includes $6.25 guaranteed money. And then finally, the real quick, just I don't want to spend a lot of time on, but the situation involving Stephon Diggs. Patriots wide receiver was not present for the voluntary OTAs one day after a video of him surfaced on social media in which he was on a boat and flashed an unidentified pink substance while surrounded by 3 women.
Yeah. Not good.
So,
Not good.
yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens from here on out. And I think that's it for the world of the NFL. Let's go ahead and move on to the Stanley Cup playoffs. And obviously, the Stanley Cup finals are set. And the first game will take place tomorrow.
A rematch from last year between the Edmonton Oilers and the defending champions, the Florida Panthers.
Yep, absolutely. Game 1. It'll be 8 p.m. Eastern on TNT. True TV. Actually, it's gonna be June 9th. My bad. No, June 4th. Sorry, my thing's all messed up. June 4th, on TNT, True TV, and Max. So check your local listings, check your streaming services for all that.
And one note that I have from last week when it comes to the NHL is the Dallas Stars absolutely got their shit kicked in by Edmonton. Yeah. Oh, it was not even close.
Yeah, they lost 6-3 in the deciding game, Game 5.
All that talent, you couldn't even get over the hump. You deserve to lose.
Well, yeah, and then the Hurricanes lost 4-1.
Yeah, and the Hurricanes had their chances, but they didn't make all the right plays, and they just got out coached, got outplayed, and when they had their chances to take a game in this series in a more than one game, they blew it, and especially they blew their chances in Game 5 on their home ice. I mean, at one point they were up 3-2 or 2-0, excuse me, and then Florida came back, and that was pretty much all she wrote. It was tied again, and then Florida scored a couple more goals to pull away, 5-3. And that was it. I mean, Bobrovsky is a tough goalie to score on. I mean, just the way he makes saves. I mean, that's why the Panthers are where they are. And he's the focal point. Because as we know in hockey, the goalie, you're only as good as your goalie is. And Bobrovsky is that guy for Florida. I mean, just how he plays and how he can take impossible saves, but he makes the right place to stop the puck, from going inside the net. And just This is a very interesting series because here's Edmonton, who is trying to end Canada's 3-decade drought since their last Stanley Cup victory. And then you have the Panthers, who are looking to try to join those, the Detroit Red Wing teams and the Colorado Avalanche and, you name it, teams at the Chicago, of winning multiple cups, and especially multiple cups in a row. I mean, Pittsburgh, and I mean, it's very hard, to defend your championship, crown. And Florida has made it look at times very easy. So I'm probably gonna pick Florida again, but I'm gonna pick Florida in 6.
I'm picking Edmonton in 6.
Ooh.
It's going to be a tough series, but Edmonton, I think, has got more firepower. By the way, there was an AEW Fighter Fest commercial during NXT.
Oh, there was.
Interesting. By the way, you mentioned Chicago. I do have a Chicago note, and that is that this week it was announced that after 2 years, Jonathan Taves is coming back. Jonathan Taves is committed to returning to the NHL and playing once again.
Wow.
Of course, he spent the past 2 years off because he was diagnosed with chronic inflammatory response syndrome, also known as CIRS, which causes persistent fatigue and inflammation. So John Taves is able to get this managed, and now he's ready to come back. And whoever signs him is gonna, I don't know how he's gonna play, but they are gonna have, a 3-time Stanley Cup champion, captain of one of the best teams in the entire NHL at the time. So, for me, it's whoever gets him is gonna have a great mind and a great leader. So I'm happy about that. I wish he would come back to Chicago. I'm crossing my fingers and toes and everything else I can do, knocking on every piece of wood imaginable. I know it ain't gonna happen, but I'm hoping. Probably false hope, but I digress. Yeah. So, real quick in other news, because we got other news to report. When it comes, the WNBA has a new player. For the WNBA, one of these teams has a new player added to their roster. Let's see here. I'll try to see where it is. Here we go. Here it is. Former DeKensie basketball guard Megan McConnell has signed a contract with the Phoenix Mercury. And why does that name sound familiar? Because that's the sister of TJ McConnell of the Indiana Pacers. So, congratulations to her. I just saw this on ESPN real quick. Let's see what else. The world of Major Leagues here real quick. Yankees have put Weaver on the IL. Bryce Harper returned from injury and blasts a homer in his first at-bat. Let's see here. Anything else? The ace for the Diamondbacks, Corbin Burns, has been put on the 15-day IL due to right elbow inflammation. Also, too, let's see here real quick. Max Scherzer, he threw 40 pitches of live batting practice Tuesday. He could pitch in a minor league game this weekend, working his way back from on the injury list because of inflammation in his thumb and also a lat muscle issue. So Max Scherzer working on his way back up to the majors after doing some rehab in the minors. Real quick right now, as far as the complete games go for tonight in MLB, Rockies and the Marlins are tied at 2 in the bottom of the 7th. Astros are beating the Pirates 1-0, top of the 8th. Cubs are beating the Nationals 7-3 in the middle of the 6th. Guardians losing to the Yankees 1-0 in the 5th. Phillies blanking the Blue Jays 7-0 in the 5th.
Damn.
The Angels are beating the Red Sox 3-1, bottom of the 4th. Brewers and Reds are tied at 2 apiece, bottom of the 5th. D-backs are beating the Braves 5-3, bottom of the 5th. Rays are up on the Rangers right now. It's currently a rain delay in the bottom of the 3rd. Tigers, White Sox are 0-0 in the bottom of the 3rd, and the Royals and Cardinals are tied at 2 apiece in the bottom of the 3rd. Also tonight we got the Padres and the Giants, so a little kind of Lower California battle. Twins and Athletics, and Mets and Dodgers. So check your local listings for those games coming up. And I believe, at least for the 4 major sports, I believe that's all I have. Do you have anything, Steven?
I believe I am good.
All right. Real quick, just want to say real quick, this weekend coming up is going to be a very busy weekend. I don't want to get too much into it. In case the Nation's Corner does have a show, and they do this, but obviously very busy weekend coming up in the world of professional wrestling. Money in the Bank, Worlds Collide, 2 great shows. And in GCW this weekend, we'll be hosting what's known as the bloodiest weekend of the year with Tournament of Survival and Cage of Survival. Matches are going to be great on that. Ciclope versus Miedo Extremo, the former members of Los Macizos battling in Cage of Survival. Then you also have Atticus Kogar versus Joey Janela in a dog collar match. And you got a mystery opponent taking on Matt Tremont. And for what I'm reading, and they didn't say any names, but they said that the crowd is going to lose their mind when they find out who Matt Tremont's mystery opponent is. And I'm thinking it's a variety of people. It could be maybe somebody who's new to deathmatch wrestling. Maybe it's R-Truth. Or could it be the return of the King, Nick Gage? Who knows? We'll see. I don't know. I don't know any details. I don't know anything else besides what just that if this person said if what I'm hearing is correct, the crowd is going to pop big. And of course, they're going to be at the Showboat in Atlantic City. They're going to be at the Showboat in Atlantic City, New Jersey, as their home base. So should be a great, great show, bloody show, violent show. So if you're not into that, don't watch it. But if you are, you like deathmatch wrestling, tune in Triller TV Plus. And Steven, of course, you saw Metallica this past week. Great show from what I heard, from what you told us. Great set list as always from the band. They never fail. Performance, audio, everything was on point.
75,000 people in that stadium. Just unbelievable. Wow.
A lot of people in that, and obviously you've got more shows later on in the year. Kind of give us your next couple of shows, why don't you, while you're on here?
Well, I know next month I'm gonna try to hit up the Creed tour when they kick off the tour in Kentucky, because that's the first show of the tour. And then in the fall, I got Dream Theater tickets for their Charlotte show, where they're going to be playing the brand new album Parasomnia in its entirety, plus other songs across their discography. And other than that, that is pretty much it as far as shows are concerned for now. Kind of here and there, we'll see. We'll see what pops up. What I might go to next.
Okay. Yeah, and for me, I really don't have any concerts right now as of yet. I'm if I could swing it, I'm going to work on getting tickets for this event called Rocks Fest, which features it's going to be in my hometown of Portage, Indiana, at Founders Square, which is an area that they built into a park slash concert area, and it's going to be a 2-day festival featuring groups like Hoobastank, Stone Temple Pilots, Theory of a Dead Man, Red Jumpsuit Apparatus.
Isn't that coming up later on in the month?
Yes, it's going to be later on this month. I think within the next. I think it's towards the third week of the month. So it should be a great, great, great show. I'm excited for that. And then, of course, in August, I'm going to see country music legend Travis Tritt at the Hard Rock Casino in Gary, Indiana. It's going to be mainly, as much as I love Travis Tritt, it's going to be mainly for my sister Melissa, who will be seeing Travis for the very first time ever. And of course, Travis is her favorite artist. So I'm excited for her. I'm excited for the show. It's gonna be great. First time being in the Hard Rock Casino. It's gonna be fun. Definitely gonna play some slots. Gotta do that. Maybe I'll walk out a winner, maybe I won't. We'll see. But outside of that, I don't have much of anything else. No wrestling shows yet. Hoping to go to one of the 6 events, excuse me, at the Aragon Ballroom that AEW is holding, similar to what they're doing at the 2300 Arena. They're going to be doing Collision and Dynamite tapings. So we'll see what happens there. But that's it for me. And if that's it from you, Steven, final thoughts. Let's close it out.
Great job by you. Great job by Joey tonight. Awesome show here tonight. Also want to give a real quick shout out to my neighbors that were there at the show on Saturday. And if you're watching this, what's up? Great catching up with you guys. Jason, Aaron, Will, you know who you are, or Eric, excuse me. Jason, Eric, and Will, you guys know who you are. Great, hell of a time, meeting up with you guys before the show. A couple other friends were there as well. Just an incredible time this past Saturday night with friends, listening to some good hard rock and heavy metal, man. I mean, my God. I mean, that 1-2 punch of Pantera and Metallica, just nothing better. Nothing better. I mean, Zach killed it. Charlie killed it, as always. I mean, ever since this is, talked about being a tribute for the brothers, I mean, they have nailed it. And of course, Metallica killed it as always. I mean, to be at their age playing with such precise precision in their 60s, and they keep on they keep on going. The next show is about to happen here in the next few minutes in Atlanta. So for those that are in the Atlanta area, hope you guys are having a great time tonight. And looking forward to next week as we recap Game 1 and 2 of the NBA Finals. We'll recap the Stanley Cup Finals as well, and whatever news comes our way, because that right there was one of the more shocking firings in quite some time. And the Knicks forced us to talk about that firing at the top of the show. And it was earth-shattering. It was just incredible that a team fires, James Dolan fires the head coach, Tom Thibodeau, after 2 50-plus win seasons, first conference appearance in 25 years in the Eastern Conference Finals, and he's done. And we'll see what they do. What's their next move? We'll find out. And when we get the next updates, of course, we report on that on the show as well. And to those that watched on demand and watched live, thank you very much as well. You can follow us on our individual social media platforms. You can follow me at Stephen_Wyand. You can follow Ezra down there at Deadman469. You can follow Joey Thornton at Roll_Tide 1992. You can also follow our boy Kevin Rory at That Niner Gang 10 on Twitter. And also you can follow Mr. Mac, the man himself, Hijacker Mike, on Twitter at Mr. Mac, and all of that. And follow his cigar channel at Smoke in the Bay, THA Bay, on Twitter and YouTube as well. You can follow us on Twitter at Owen_Sports Show, Facebook.com/Nation Sports Show, and where we are live on youtube.com/The Nation Sports Show. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and all of that good stuff. And also, don't forget to follow the Nation's Corner on Twitter and Facebook at Nation's Corner. And the Instagram and the YouTube channels all at The Nation's Corner. And be sure to join the guys and gal as they recap all things professional wrestling. And it's been a very hectic week in wrestling. And the main event tonight on NXT, it is the TNA World Championship. Mike Santana and Trick Williams. That will be tonight. And speaking of tonight, had a great time with you guys again. Like I said, we're out of here. And with that being said, Ezra, wrap us up, my friend.
Good thing, man. Thank you to everybody who joins us live or on demand. We appreciate the support as always. We will be back next week with another great show. Of course, we'll be covering what's going on with the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals as well. And we'll keep an eye on any more NFL news, any trades, any signings. We'll keep an eye on that. And, of course, what's going on in the world of baseball as well. Hopefully, we'll have Kevin with us for a little bit next week. We'll see what happens. Right now, let's go enjoy some NXT. And right now, real quick, it is Miles Bourne, Charlie Dempsey in a not rules match, but a rounds match, where if Miles Bourne wins this match, he gets the opportunity to walk away from North Quarter Catch Boost. So let's get on that. And for everybody on the sports show, I'm Mr. Vickery. We will see you all next week for another great edition of this show. Like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, and we will see you all next week. Same time, same YouTube channel. Peace out, everybody. Have a great week, and we will see you next time. Go.
Turn me up. Turn me up. Turn me up. Turn me up. Turn me up.